The alien bride. No one wanted until a human child called her mother. The transport ship's whistle cut across the valley, a long metallic shriek that echoed against the iron ridges. Dust and steam blew out across the settlement's landing platform as the last passengers trickled down the ramp, greeted by family, employers, or ranching partners who had sent for them. No one greeted Alara. She stood very still, clutching the strap of a worn satchel, luminous eyes scanning the crowd. Her hood was pulled low, though it did little to hide the faint shimmer along her skin where the sunlight caught it. Too human to belong to the stars, too alien to belong to the Earth frontier. She was always one or the other, never both. The settlers noticed. A few turned their heads outright, whispering, "There's one of them hybrids. Thought the governor banned half-breeds from transport contracts. Look at her eyes, they glow." Alara fixed her gaze on the wooden boards beneath her boots. She had read the letter 100 times, written in careful, blocky script. A safe homestead, a husband who welcomes you, a place to belong. But no one came. The crowd thinned until only merchants remained, dragging crates to wagons. A pair of young ranch hands leaned on the rail fence, grinning. One spat onto the ground. She thought some man would actually claim her? No human wants a star-touched freak. Their laughter rang in her ears, louder than the departing engines. Alara's chest tightened. She had been abandoned before, on colony stations, in mining camps, at altars where suitors broke vows the moment they glimpsed her alien features. But still she had come here, across half the frontier, because the letter promised more. Her throat ached. She would not cry, not here. A soft tap of footsteps startled her. A little girl, no more than 4, stood before her in a woolen coat far too large for her tiny frame. Golden curls poked out beneath a knit cap. Her eyes were wide, unafraid, filled with the kind of wonder only children still carried. "Are you lost?" the girl asked. Alara blinked, lowering her hood. The girl gasped, but didn't back away, even when her eyes caught the faint glow of Alara's irises. Alara's voice caught. "I suppose I am." The child studied her seriously, as if weighing some hidden truth. Then she asked with breathtaking simplicity, "Do you want to be my mommy?" Alara's breath froze. She had heard insults, rejection, whispers of creature, and abomination. But never, never that. "Lena!" The shout came from across the platform. A tall man strode forward, his dark coat patched at the elbows, hat low against the wind. He moved like someone used to scanning every shadow, the gait of a scout who had survived more than one ambush. He scooped the girl into his arms, glaring at Alara with wary, steel-gray eyes. "Stay away from her," he said sharply. Alara flinched back. "I meant no harm." The child wriggled in his grip. "Papa, she's nice. She's sad. I asked if she could be my mommy." The man's jaw clenched. He looked from his daughter to Alara, then back again. His stance softened, though the suspicion in his gaze remained. "You waiting for someone?" he asked curtly. Alara hesitated, fingers tightening around the satchel strap. "I was, but it seems no one is coming." Something flickered in his eyes, pity perhaps, but it vanished behind a wall of guarded silence. He shifted the girl on his hip and adjusted the sack of supplies slung across his shoulder. "The nights here are cold," he said finally. "If you've nowhere to stay, you can share my fire. One night only." Alara's lips parted. She wanted to refuse, to cling to the last shred of pride, but the settlement was closing around her, doors shutting, lanterns dimming. The thought of sleeping alone in the bitter alien wind clawed at her. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded once. "Name's Marcus Hale. This here's my daughter, Lena." "Alara," she said. "Just Alara." The child grinned and stretched her arms toward Alara. "You can walk with us." Marcus frowned but said nothing as Lena insisted on holding Alara's gloved hand. The trail cut into the pines, half buried beneath frost. Darkness pooled between the trees, their limbs rattling in the wind. Marcus moved with the certainty of a man who had walked the path 100 times. Ilara struggled to match his stride, the child skipping between them. "Where are you from?" Marcus asked without turning his head. Ilara's throat tightened. "Nowhere that would matter to you." He glanced at her, eyes catching the faint shimmer on her skin. "You're not like the others." "I know." Her voice was bitter. "Neither human enough for your people, nor alien enough for theirs. Always unwanted." The words hung heavy. Marcus said nothing. The silence broke with a howl, long and low, carried on the wind. Lena stiffened, clutching Ilara's hand. Marcus stopped dead, eyes narrowing into the dark. "Wargwolves," he muttered. "Stay close." Two shapes slinked from the tree line, eyes glinting amber. Then another. Their bodies were lean, fur matted, jaws lined with serrated teeth that glimmered faintly with alien bioluminescence. Marcus swung his rifle off his shoulder. "Run if you have to," he told Ilara. Instead, she dropped her satchel and knelt, pressing one palm to the frozen earth. The faint shimmer in her skin spread, pulsing like veins of light. The wolves hesitated, snarling. "What are you doing?" Marcus barked. "Calling them off." Her voice was calm. "They understand resonance." But the largest wolf lunged before she finished. Marcus fired, shot cracking through the trees. The beast staggered, but didn't fall. Another rushed from the side. Without thinking, Ilara moved, her body blurred with speed Marcus hadn't expected. She snatched a fallen branch, its tip hardened by frost, and rammed it into the wolf's flank as it leapt. The creature yelped and crashed into the snow. Marcus shot again, dropping the wounded one. The others circled, uncertain. Ilara's skin glowed brighter, her voice shifting into a low hum. The sound vibrated through the clearing. The pack's ears flattened. Then one by one they slunk back into the shadows, leaving the night eerily still. Marcus lowered his rifle slowly, eyes fixed on her. "You sang them away!" Ilara stood, breath trembling. "Not song, frequency. My mother taught me." Lena clapped her mittened hands, oblivious to the danger that had nearly swallowed them. "Papa, he saved us." Marcus didn't answer. He just stared at Ilara, torn between suspicion and reluctant gratitude. "Let's move," he muttered at last, "before they come back." The cabin nestled in a hollow, one room with smoke curling from a narrow chimney. Marcus pushed the door open and gestured stiffly. Inside. Ilara hesitated at the threshold. She had been invited into homes before, only to be pushed out, when someone whispered the truth of her blood. But Lena tugged her hand gently. "It's warm inside," the child whispered. So Ilara stepped across. The fire crackled against plank walls. Sparse furnishings, one cot, a table, a rocking chair. A home built by survival, not comfort. Marcus set down supplies and stoked the fire. "You can sleep by the hearth, don't expect more." Ilara nodded, lowering herself onto the floorboards. The warmth of the flames licked her chilled skin. Lena crawled onto her lap without hesitation. "See, Papa? She's not scary." Marcus sat heavily in his chair, rifle across his knees. His gaze never left Ilara. He stroked Lena's curls absently, a strange ache blooming in her chest. For the first time in years, she felt the faint flicker of belonging. Fragile, like a match lit against the wind. But outside, in the dark pines, another howl echoed. This one was different. Shrill, human. Raiders signaling in the night. Marcus's grip tightened on his rifle. He met Ilara's glowing eyes across the fire. "You picked a hell of a night to arrive," he said grimly. Ilara held Lena closer, her own voice steady despite the dread curling inside her. "Then it seems your world doesn't want me gone just yet." The firelight glinted in Marcus's wary gaze, in Ilara's alien shimmer, and in Lena's innocent smile as she leaned against the stranger she had already chosen as her mother. The storm had only just begun. The cabin creaked against the winter wind, a thin wooden shell holding out the night. Marcus sat in his chair by the fire, rifle balanced across his knees, eyes fixed on the alien woman who now shared his hearth. Ilara hadn't slept. She sat cross-legged on the floorboards, back against the wall, staring into the flames. The glow in her skin dimmed and brightened with her breath, as if she carried the fire inside her as well. Lena lay curled in Ilara's lap, clutching a rag doll, thumb tucked in her mouth. Every time Marcus looked at them together, something twisted in his chest. Part warning, part ache. He told himself she was trouble. Trouble with her shimmering eyes. Trouble with her alien blood. Trouble that might put his daughter in danger. But when Lena's tiny hand rested against that glowing skin, when the girl sighed contentedly and whispered, "Mommy," in her sleep, Marcus had no words. By dawn, Marcus made his decision. He wasn't keeping her. The morning sun cut across the valley, sharp and cold. Marcus hitched the mule to the wagon, while Ilara stood nearby, adjusting her satchel. "I'll take you to town," Marcus said gruffly. "There's an inn. Someone there will have a bed for you." Ilara nodded once, face unreadable. "And after that?" "After that," he said, tightening the straps, "you'll find your own way." Lena burst out of the cabin in a swirl of quilts, cheeks red from the cold. "Papa, no! She stays with us!" Marcus knelt, steadying the child. "It's not that simple, Lena. She doesn't belong here." Lena stomped her boot. "She saved us from the wolves. She belongs more than anyone." Marcus's mouth tightened. He didn't answer. Ilara bent down, touching the girl's shoulder gently. "Your father is right, little one. I cannot stay where I'm not wanted." Her words were soft, but her eyes betrayed the hollowness of repetition. She had said those words too many times before. The wagon rattled along the frozen road, wheels crunching over frost. The settlement's outskirts came into view. Rows of rough cabins, a trading post, smoke curling from black chimneys. Conversation died as soon as Marcus rolled through with Ilara seated beside him. Heads turned, whispers spread. Half alien. "She's glowing. Why's Hale bringing her here?" Marcus ignored them, jaw locked. Ilara sat straight-backed, gaze forward, refusing to acknowledge the murmurs. But Lena clung to her hand, eyes darting nervously at the scorn around them. At the trading post, Marcus dismounted. "Stay here," he muttered. He returned minutes later with supplies: flour, oil, dried meat, stuffed into a sack. The innkeeper, a red-faced man with a greasy beard, followed him out, scowling at Ilara. "You can't house that," the man barked. "Not in my inn. Not anywhere near decent folk." "She needs a bed for a night," Marcus said evenly. "She needs a cage," the man spat. "Everyone knows what happens when you let their kind inside walls. Sickness, blight, trouble." Marcus's hand twitched near his rifle strap. "Watch your tongue," the innkeeper sneered. "Or what? You'll shoot a man for telling the truth." Before Marcus could answer, Ilara stepped down from the wagon. Her voice was quiet, steady, but each word carried an edge like tempered steel. "I don't need your inn. I've survived in places harsher than this settlement could imagine." The man blanched at the glow in her eyes, muttered something foul, and retreated inside. Marcus exhaled slowly, shoulders taut. "You see now why you can't stay?" Ilara didn't respond. Instead, she crouched to lift Lena back into the wagon. The child clung tighter. "I don't care what they say," Lena whispered fiercely. "You're still my mommy." Ilara's throat burned, but she forced a smile. "And you are still my brave girl." They returned to the homestead by late afternoon. Snow threatened the sky, gray clouds drifting low. Marcus unloaded supplies in silence. Ilara settled by the hearth, warming Lena's hands. The tension between them crackled like the fire itself. "You shouldn't encourage her," Marcus said finally, not looking up from the sack he unpacked. Ilara raised her chin. "Encourage her? Calling you mommy. You're not her mother." His tone was flat, but beneath it ran something raw. Ilara studied him. "Do you want me to correct her? To tell her she's wrong to love?" Marcus's jaw flexed. She's already lost one parent. I won't let her lose again. I never asked her to call me that, Alara said softly. Children see what adults cannot. She sees me. That is all. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then Lena coughed. Once. Twice. A sound too deep for a child so small. Marcus turned, alarm flickering in his eyes. Lena's cheeks were flushed, her body trembling against the blanket. Alara, he said sharply. What's wrong with her? Ilara was already moving. She pressed her hand to the girl's forehead, felt the burning heat under clammy skin. She's fevered, Ilara said. Badly. Marcus cursed under his breath. I'll ride to town for the doctor. She won't last the trip. Ilara's voice cut him off. Calm. Certain. Marcus froze, torn between fear and doubt. Then what? Ilara's eyes glowed brighter. Let me try. From her satchel, Ilara pulled bundles of dried leaves, small vials of resin, a pouch of powdered crystal that shimmered faintly. He moved with swift precision, crushing herbs, steeping them in boiling water, mixing poultices that steamed with alien fragrance. Marcus hovered like a storm about to break. What are you giving her? Medicine, Ilara said simply, half taught by my human father, half inherited from my mother's people. It works. You don't know that. She turned, eyes flashing. Do you have better? Marcus's mouth opened, then closed. He stepped back, fists tightening uselessly. Ilara bent over Lena, coaxing the bitter liquid past her lips, humming a low resonance that vibrated the very air. The child whimpered but swallowed. Beads of sweat broke along her forehead. Stay with me, little one, Ilara whispered. Breathe. Sweat it out. Hours passed. The fire sank to embers. Marcus didn't leave his post at the bedside, watching with a desperation he could not hide. Ilara worked tirelessly, compresses, chants, whispered stories in a language older than the settlement itself. Near midnight, Lena stirred. Her breath came steadier. Her cheeks, though still flushed, lost their deathly pallor. Mommy, she whispered, reaching weakly for Ilara's hand. Ilara froze, tears stinging her eyes. She clasped the child's fingers gently. Yes, sweetheart, I'm here. Marcus's chest shuddered with something between relief and pain. He turned away, pretending to stoke the fire. Morning light spilled into the cabin. Lena slept soundly, breath even. Ilara slumped against the wall, exhaustion carved deep into her face. Marcus placed a steaming tin cup beside her. Drink, he muttered. She blinked at him, surprised. Coffee? Strongest I've got. He didn't meet her eyes. Ilara lifted it, savoring the bitter warmth. Silence stretched, but it wasn't hostile now. Finally, Marcus said, You saved her. Ilara's lips curved faintly. I told you I could. He rubbed a hand over his jaw. I misjudged you. You judged me like everyone else, Ilara replied. Her tone was not accusing, merely matter of fact. Marcus looked at Lena, curled safe beneath blankets, then at Ilara. I don't trust easy, he admitted, but I owe you. Before she could respond, a thunder of hooves shattered the quiet. Marcus's head snapped up. He grabbed his rifle, moving to the window. Dust clouds rose along the valley trail. A dozen riders, armed and masked, their banners marked with the sigil of the outlaw clan that had haunted the frontier for years. Raiders. They're coming this way, Marcus growled. Ilara rose, weariness burned away by instinct. Her glow brightened, pulsing across her skin like fire through crystal veins. Marcus glanced at her, rifle ready. You said you wanted to belong. Then stand with me. Ilara's gaze hardened. I have stood against worse. Together they turned to face the storm galloping toward their home. The first blood had yet to spill, but it would. The valley lay hushed beneath a pale sun, brittle snow crunching underfoot as Marcus patrolled the edge of his property. Rifle slung over his shoulder, eyes scanning the ridgeline, he looked every inch the hardened scout who had survived too many winters. But today his mind wasn't on the ridges or the tracks in the snow. It was on the woman inside his cabin. Alara had proven herself last night in ways he could no longer deny. She hadn't flinched when Lena's fever rose to a dangerous burn. She hadn't hesitated to call on strange knowledge, to use herbs that shimmered faintly, to sing alien frequencies over his daughter until the sweat broke and the child breathed easier. Marcus had wanted to dismiss it as luck, coincidence, but Lena was alive. That was all that mattered. Still, the raiders had appeared on the horizon, and their dust hadn't settled yet. They would be back, and soon. Inside the cabin, Alara sat with Lena at the table. The little girl was already back to humming tunes, cheeks still pale but eyes bright with energy. Alara braided her golden curls with practiced hands, humming softly in her own tongue. Marcus stepped in, stamping snow from his boots. "They're not coming today," he muttered, "but the raiders will test us again. That's what they do. Circle, watch, wait until you think you're safe." Alara met his eyes. "I've seen their kind, on mining colonies, on outworld settlements. They take what they want. They break what they can't take." Marcus blinked. "You've been out there?" Her fingers stilled on Lena's braid. "Where do you think a half-blood alien girl hides when no one on Earth will have her? My mother's people turned me away. My father's people, well, they called me monster." The glow in her eyes dimmed, but her voice carried a hard edge. "I drifted from outpost to outpost, worked in archives, traded medicine, stitched wounds no doctor would touch. And every time someone discovered what I was sent on again." Marcus leaned against the doorframe, arms folded, studying her. "And you still came here, for a letter that wasn't even real." Her mouth twisted in a faint, bitter smile. "Hope is a stubborn parasite. It clings even when reason tells you to cut it free." The fire popped loudly. Marcus didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "I know what it is to lose hope." Alara tilted her head. He glanced at Lena, making sure she was distracted by her ragdoll, then said, "My wife was taken by raiders 4 winters ago. I came back from a supply run to find the door broken, smoke in the air, and Lena crying under the table." His jaw tightened. "They left nothing but ashes." Alara's chest ached. "I'm sorry." Marcus shrugged stiffly. "Sorry doesn't fix holes in a man. I swore then I'd never let anyone close enough to open another one." Alara's gaze softened. "And yet you let me in." He didn't answer. He only pushed away from the door, grabbed his coat and said, "We need supplies. Come with me. Better you see what the town thinks of you now, rather than later." The settlement looked different with Alara at his side. Whispers didn't just follow her. They cut sharp, venomous. "That's the thing from the transport. She bewitched Hale's girl. Skin shines like a cursed lantern." Marcus kept his head high, rifle slung openly to discourage cowards. Alara walked beside him, every step proud though her stomach nodded. Lena held both their hands, skipping as if the stairs didn't exist. At the general store, Marcus set flour, lamp oil, and nails on the counter. The shopkeeper's eyes narrowed. "Don't take credit. I won't trade with your companion." "She has a name," Marcus said flatly. "I don't care if she calls herself Queen of the Stars. Folk here don't want contamination near their homes." Marcus's hand flexed near the edge of the counter. "I pay in coin. That's all you need to know." The shopkeeper sneered. "Coin don't wash out alien taint." The words struck sharper than any blade. Alara stiffened, breath shallow. For a heartbeat, she considered walking out, leaving Marcus to his world. But Lena squeezed her hand, and something inside her hardened. Marcus leaned forward, voice dropping to a dangerous growl. "Say another word against her, and I'll take my coin to the next town. And I'll tell every settler here exactly why you lost business." The man's mouth snapped shut. With a mutter, he shoved a sack of supplies across the counter. So, when they stepped outside, Marcus caught Alara's gaze. "That's what you're up against here. Hatred that don't need reason." She lifted her chin. "Then let it hate. I've lived through worse." But in her heart the sting lingered. That night the wind carried a strange sound across the valley, metal on stone, faint war cries echoing in the distance. Marcus stood at the porch, lantern held high. "They're moving closer," he said. Elara joined him, her eyes glimmering. "You can't fight a band this size alone." "I've done it before." "You survived before," she corrected. "That isn't the same as winning." His jaw clenched. "So what's your answer? Run? Hide?" She stepped closer, luminous gaze locking onto his. "My answer is fight, not as one man holding a line, but as something bigger. You humans speak of your strength, your grit. Prove it. Don't just survive. Make them bleed for every inch they try to take." Marcus stared at her, stunned by the ferocity in her words. "You sound like you believe in us more than we do," he muttered. "I've seen humans rebuild homes in airless colonies, seen them farm barren rock with nothing but hope and grit. You don't survive because you're pure. You survive because you're stubborn, because you choose to." For a long moment, silence hung heavy. Then Marcus exhaled slowly. "If you're right, we'll need traps, barricades, stockpiles. The homestead will be a fortress by the time they come." Elara's mouth curved faintly. "Then let's build one." The next days blurred into relentless work. Marcus felled trees, hammering rough barricades along the ridge. Elara helped dig trenches, her glowing hands steady even in the cold. Lena tottered between them, carrying pebbles as if they were stones of war. At night, Marcus and Elara sat by the fire planning. She showed him alien ways to snare predators with resonant wire, to mix herbs into burning smoke that would sting eyes and throats. He taught her where raiders like to slip through, how to read hoof prints and gauge numbers. For the first time, they were no longer strangers orbiting each other. They were partners, forged by necessity. But whispers in the town grew louder. Rumors spread that Hale had taken in a witch, that he was plotting with an alien to betray the settlement, that Lena was cursed. One evening, when Marcus rode in for nails, a group of settlers confronted him. "She'll bring death on us all," one snarled. "Send her away, or we'll burn her out." Marcus's hand went to his rifle. "You lay one finger on her or my daughter, and you'll find out just how fast I can shoot." The men backed down, muttering. But Marcus knew, fear spreads faster than fire. When he returned to the cabin, Elara was mending one of Lena's dresses by the fire. She looked up, sensing the weight in his eyes. "They threatened, didn't they?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Elara's hands stilled. "I've been chased out of every place I've tried to call home. If you want me gone, say it now." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No," he said simply. "Not this time." For the first time since his wife's death, Marcus made a choice not of survival, but of trust. Outside, the night howled with raider horns. Inside, firelight gleamed on alien skin and human steel, two outcasts standing side by side. The storm was nearly here. The storm broke on a moonless night. Marcus had been right. Raiders always circled before the strike. But nothing prepared him for the thunder that rolled out of the valley, hooves pounding like war drums, rifles cracking, torches arcing through the dark. "Down!" Marcus roared, yanking Lena to the floor just as a window shattered. Flames licked across the porch. Elara was already moving. She kicked over the table, using it as a shield while she hauled Lena against her chest. Her glow flared brighter than the fire outside. "Marcus!" she shouted. "I see them!" He ducked to the firing slit he'd carved in the wall days ago, shouldered his rifle, and fired. A rider pitched sideways, torch tumbling into the snow. The night erupted into chaos. Raiders stormed the barricades Marcus had built, hacking with axes, shouting curses. Muskets roared in answer. The wooden defenses shuddered but held. Oh, inside smoke seeped through the cracks. Lena coughed, tiny hands clutching Elara's dress. Elara pressed her forehead to the child's. "Stay with me, little star. You are safe." Marcus slammed another cartridge into his rifle, teeth bared. They'll breach before dawn. Then we make sure they regret it, Alara said fiercely. She snatched one of the jars from the hearth, a mix she had prepared of resin, sap, and crushed herbs. She hurled it into the flames outside. The jar exploded in a cloud of green smoke that clung to skin and eyes. Raiders shrieked, clawing at their faces. Ugh, Marcus gaped. What the hell? Alien fire, Alara said simply. Burns without flame. For a moment the line held, but then a horn wailed in the darkness, and more riders poured down from the ridge. The barricade cracked. The doors splintered under the weight of a battering ram. Marcus fired point blank, dropping the first man through, but 3 more surged in. Steel flashed in torchlight. Alara shoved Lena behind the cot and leapt forward with nothing but a kitchen blade. She moved faster than Marcus had ever seen, sidestepping a blow, driving the blade into a raider's thigh. Marcus swung his rifle like a club, cracking another across the skull. The third lunged, grabbing Alara by the arm. She twisted, skin glowing, and a resonance hum pulsed through the cabin. The man screamed, clutching his head, blood dripping from his nose. Then in the confusion, a 4th raider slipped through. He didn't go for Marcus. He didn't go for Alara. He went for Lena. "Papa!" the child screamed as rough hands yanked her from behind the cot. The raider bolted for the door, hauling her like a sack. "No!" Marcus bellowed, but another attacker barreled into him, forcing him back. Alara lunged, but too late. The man was already on horseback, galloping into the night with Lena's terrified cries fading into the dark. The cabin fell eerily silent once the last of the raiders retreated, leaving bodies in the snow and barricades in ruin. Smoke hung thick. The fire guttered low. Marcus stood amid the wreckage, chest heaving, hands bloody from rifle and fists. His eyes were wild, feral. "They took her," he rasped. "They took my girl." Alara's own chest felt hollow. The sound of Lena's screams still echoed in her skull. "We'll get her back." Marcus turned on her, fury blazing. "You don't understand. They'll kill her. Or worse." His voice cracked. "I can't lose her too." "Not again." Alara stepped forward, gripping his shoulders. Her glow cast shadows across his haunted face. "Look at me. We are not giving up. Do you hear me?" Marcus's breath shuddered. His hands trembled, but her certainty, the steel in her voice, pierced through the fog. "How?" he whispered. Alara's eyes hardened. "We hunt them. Tonight." They moved before dawn, following tracks through the snow, hoofprints and drag marks. Marcus carried his rifle, every step tight with rage. Alara walked beside him, satchels slung across her back, humming softly under her breath to keep their trail clear of predators. The wilderness was merciless. The wind howled, slicing through their coats. Snow blinded their path, but they pressed on, guided by Lena's faint ribbon caught on a thorn bush, her doll abandoned in the drifts. At a frozen creek, Marcus dropped to one knee, scanning the ice. They crossed here, headed for the gorge. Their camp's in those hills. Alara knelt beside him, placing her hand on the ice. A faint hum echoed from her palm. Her glow pulsed. "She's alive," she said firmly. "I can feel her resonance. Faint, but strong." Marcus stared at her. "You can feel her?" Alara met his gaze. "She chose me. That bond runs deeper than blood." For the first time, Marcus didn't doubt her. They reached the raider camp by nightfall. Fires burned in a circle of wagons. Shadows moved, dozens of them. Marcus counted at least 30 men. "Too many," he muttered. "Not for humans who refuse to break," Alara said, her glow shimmering faintly. "We don't need to kill them all, just enough to free her." Marcus's mouth twisted into something between fear and grim resolve. "Then we make it fast." They struck just after midnight. Marcus fired first, dropping the guard at the north post. Alara hurled one of her resin bombs into the fire pit. Green smoke billowed, choking raiders as they stumbled out of tents. Screams echoed. Gunfire cracked. Chaos erupted. Marcus fought like a man possessed, rifle flashing, fists breaking jaws. Ilara moved like lightning, blade flashing. Resonance hummed, stunning men mid-charge. Together they cut a path through the camp. And then Marcus saw her. Lena, tied to a post near the largest wagon, eyes wide with terror. "Papa!" she screamed. Marcus surged forward. A raider blocked his path, but Ilara slammed into him from the side, knocking him down. "Go!" he shouted. Marcus ran. Bullets hissed past. He ripped the ropes free, dragging Lena into his arms. "It's all right, baby," he gasped. "I've got you." But behind them, the raider chief roared, a massive man, scarred, wielding a blade longer than Ilara's arm. "You think you can steal from me?" he bellowed. Marcus shoved Lena behind him, rifle raised, but the chief was too fast. The blade swung down and Ilara was there. She caught the strike with her knife, the impact ringing like metal on metal. The force drove her to her knees. The glow in her skin blazed brighter, her hum building into a scream that rattled the air. The raider staggered, clutching his ears. Ilara lunged, driving her blade into his chest. He toppled, crashing into the snow with a strangled gasp. Marcus gaped. "You!" Ilara swayed, exhaustion washing over her. Her glow flickered, dimming. Then a shot rang out. She gasped, clutching her side. Blood shimmered, alien and human both, spilling across the snow. "No!" Marcus roared. He dropped to her side, hauling her against him. "I told you." Ilara's voice was faint, trembling. "I'd get her back." Her eyes fluttered, unfocused. Marcus's throat tore with a sound he hadn't made since his wife's death. "Don't you dare leave me. Not after this." He pressed his hands to her wound, dragging her toward the trees. Lena stumbled beside them, sobbing. Raiders regrouped, shouts rising behind them. But Marcus didn't stop. He carried Ilara through the snow, every step a vow. "I lost one woman I loved. I will not lose another." By dawn, they collapsed back at the ruined cabin. Marcus laid Ilara on the cot, hands shaking as he worked to bind her wound. Lena clung to her glowing hand, whispering over and over, "Mommy, please stay. Mommy, don't go." Ilara's eyes flickered open. She met Marcus's gaze, weak but fierce. "You see now?" she whispered. "Humans don't survive by running. You survive by fighting, by choosing." Marcus bowed his head, tears burning. "Then choose to stay." Her lips curved faintly, even through pain. "I already have." Outside, the valley lay in stunned silence. The raiders had been broken, their leader dead. The siege had failed. But the true battle, the one inside Marcus Hale's heart, had only just been won. The cabin smelled of smoke and blood. Marcus sat slumped beside the cot, head bowed, hands still stained from binding Ilara's wounds. Outside, the valley lay eerily still, raiders dead or scattered, their banners smoldering in the snow. The storm had passed, but the ache in his chest had only deepened. On the cot, Ilara stirred. Her skin glowed faintly beneath the bandages, a strange fusion of human red and alien silver shimmering through. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Lena lay curled beside her, tiny hand clasped tight around Ilara's fingers, as though sheer will could tether her to the world. Marcus lifted his head as her eyes blinked open. "Ilara," he whispered. She gave the faintest smile. "You look terrible." He let out a broken laugh, dragging a hand over his unshaven jaw. "You nearly died, and you're worried about my face?" Her gaze softened. "I told you, I chose to stay. That doesn't change." The words hit him harder than any bullet. For 4 years, Marcus had carried nothing but survival in his chest, cold and heavy. But now, for the first time, warmth cracked through. By mid-morning, the smoke of battle had carried to town. Settlers arrived in cautious groups, rifles slung, eyes scanning the wreckage. They expected a ruin, corpses in the snow. Instead, they found Marcus Hale alive, his homestead scarred but standing, and beside him, the alien woman who had bled to save his daughter. "She fought with us," one whispered, staring at the strange shimmer in Ilara's skin. "She killed their chief," another muttered. But she's not even human. Marcus stepped forward, rifle across his back, voice carrying like a hammer. She saved this valley. Without her, Lena would be dead. Without her, I would be dead. You can hate her blood if you want, but you will respect her courage. The crowd shifted uneasily. One man spat into the snow. We don't need her kind. Marcus's rifle snapped up, barrel leveled steady. His eyes burned steel. Say one more word against her, and you'll wish the raiders had finished you first. Silence fell. The settlers backed down, grumbling but cowed. For the first time, no one dared whisper witch or creature aloud. Behind Marcus, Elara rose slowly from the cot, leaning on the doorway, pale but defiant. Let them see, she said softly. Let them see what a half-blood can be. And they did. Weeks passed. Snow melted into streams that carved through the valley. The cabin, though scarred, grew stronger. Marcus rebuilt barricades and defenses. Elara planted herbs in neat rows, their alien leaves shimmering faintly. Lena chased chickens in the yard, laughter echoing across land that once knew only sorrow. The town kept its distance at first, but sickness came as it always did on the frontier. A boy fevered with cough, a woman limping from a twisted ankle. Desperation overcame fear. They came quietly at first, then in growing numbers. Elara never turned anyone away. She treated children with herbs that cooled their fevers, stitched wounds with steady hands, hummed frequencies that eased pain. Soon the whispers changed. She's strange, but she saved my boy. She healed my old man's back. Maybe she belongs after all. Marcus watched it unfold with quiet awe. For years he had believed survival meant silence, meant shutting out the world. But Elara had shown him otherwise. Sometimes survival meant standing in the open, glowing in the dark, refusing to break. One spring evening, as the sun sank in gold fire across the plains, Marcus found Elara on the porch. Lena sat at her feet, braiding wildflowers into her hair. The alien shimmer of her skin caught the sunset, turning her into something both otherworldly and deeply human. Marcus cleared his throat. You never told me what your name means. Elara glanced up. It's from my mother's tongue. It means light that lingers after the star sets. Marcus nodded slowly. Fitting. You keep shining, even when the rest of us burn out. She smiled faintly. And you, Marcus Hale, what does your name mean? He smirked. Means I've been a fool too long. She tilted her head. And now? He stepped closer, heart pounding. He wasn't a man for speeches. He had no ring, no preacher, no altar. Just the porch beneath their feet, the fire in his chest, and the family they had already built. I can't promise much, he said quietly. A roof that leaks when it rains. A rifle that's more scar than steel. A field that fights harder than it grows. He took her hand, rough fingers trembling. But if what you want is a home, if what you need is a family, then I've got that, and I want you to have it too. Elara's eyes shimmered, brighter than any sunset. She didn't speak. She only leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently to his. For Marcus Hale, the silence was louder than vows. Behind them, Lena burst into laughter, throwing flowers into the air. My mommy and papa, she shouted, twirling barefoot in the grass. For the first time, Marcus didn't flinch at the word. He embraced it. Summer brought a new life to the valley. The cabin grew into a home. A second room added, shelves filled with jars of herbs and tools. Elara taught children to read with charcoal on scraps of paper, their laughter filling the once lonely hollow. Marcus sharpened plows, mended fences, and spoke with neighbors who once spat at his doorstep. No one called Elara creature anymore. They called her Miss Elara, sometimes even healer. And one evening, beneath a sky streaked with amber clouds, Marcus and Elara stood in the field while neighbors gathered. No preacher, no rings, just words carried by the wind. I used to be a man who chose nothing but silence, Marcus said, but today I choose you. I used to be a woman no one wanted, Elara said, but today I am chosen, and I choose you too. They sealed it not with a ceremony, but with a kiss that tasted of smoke, of herbs, of survival, of love long denied. Lena clapped and squealed, declaring herself flower girl and witness all at once. In that moment, they were not broken pieces. They were one whole thing, a family. The next year, under the wide autumn sky, Alara stood in the doorway of the cabin, one hand resting on the gentle swell of her belly. Her second child stirred within, half human, half alien, wholly theirs. Inside, Lena chased her little brother, giggling as Marcus pretended to be a clumsy bear. Alara watched them with tears in her eyes. For so long she had believed she belonged nowhere, not to humans, not to aliens, not even to herself. But here, on this patch of earth, scarred by battle and healed by love, she finally belonged. Marcus came to her side, sliding an arm around her shoulders. He kissed her temple, beard scratching her skin. "Still think no one wants you?" Alara smiled through tears. "You don't just want me, you chose me." He tightened his arm around her, gaze sweeping their children, their home, their valley. "That's what humans do. We don't wait to be given a family. We fight for one." The wind carried the scent of sage and wildflowers across the plains. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in streaks of fire. And in that light, glowing and human all at once, Alara knew this was the life no one could take from her. Not raiders, not prejudice, not the cold silence of space. Because it had been built not from blood, not from purity, but from choice, from love, from family. And that, above all, was the human way.